Action and welcome everybody. This is PnP Weekly episode 241. It is 18th of March. We are back from MVP Summit, or I'm back from the MVP Summit from Redmond last week. That was awesome. And Waldek is on the show as well. So my name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a principal product manager in Microsoft 365. And Waldek, who are you?
Hi everybody, my name is Waldek Mastykarz and I am Cloud Developer Advocate for Microsoft 365 at Microsoft.
Indeed. So, MVP Summit last week, Waldek, I know that you were unfortunately not able to join us. That was actually really nice, catching up with all of the MVPs and colleagues and friends on the other side of the pond. So.
Was it very much like the same MVP summits that I remember from, let's say, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, or is it changed?
I don't think it's changed too much. I think it was apparently last year was a bit of a different because it's the first one in person. Now this one was the second year in person, and we already published the dates for next year, which is awesome. People can get ready and prepared for it. But this time we were pretty early on the dates, and then we were able to kind of coordinate that certain areas. For example, in my case, I'm the Microsoft 365 developer. Microsoft 365 developer MVP lead, like you are as well, by the way. We were able to centralize all of the developer sessions in a single building and a single room with 99% accuracy. So that was actually really good because then you know that the things which you are interested if you are in that developer bubble are in the one location, and then everybody else who are interested about the same thing is in the same location. So that was nice. And I think the new thing obviously was to see the new campus and the feeling of that one, which is actually it's a bit, how would I put it, there's multiple sides of the new campus. So it's nice, it's really cool, it's massive. The garage and all of that is just, holy moly, that's huge. And the amount of buildings as within that new office block, which is massive, is just huge. But then, as I stayed quite a lot on among my colleagues or in the area of the colleagues, typically on evenings though, because they were already out at that point, because when I'm traveling, it gets complicated. You do your day work and then you do your evening work. But I realized that it's nice, but it wasn't actually as mind-boggling. Somebody might be like, "What do you mean? Don't say that!" But it wasn't really that mind-boggling as I thought it was. And they're super cool new offices. Technology is brilliant. Meeting room technologies, all of that brilliant. But if you really, really, really started paying attention on the details of the building, and I can't help myself, you can see that maybe it was about sustainable building because they've saved in many areas, and that might be sustainability. I get that, but there were certain things like details, which is like, oh, that's ugly. Are they going to leave it like that? Okay, interesting.
You mean industrial look?
Yeah, a bit of it's the industrial look, but it wasn't just that. There was a kind of and of course on the ceilings they had everything open up and the pipes were visible and all of that, which is okay.
So
that's the industrial look. Yes, that's the industrial look. But then there was certain like technical details like the steel pipes which are going around the keeping off the floors up, and they were not hidden. They were just pluffed with a white paint, which is bubbly paint, which is like, okay, I get that industrial look, but that looks ugly. It's like, I can't help myself paying attention on small details.
Not your taste, or you.
Not my exactly. Maybe somebody said that they're pretty. Exactly. Maybe somebody thought that it's pretty and it's okay and it's by design. And also the stupidest thing ever is just basic logistics. Like you cannot go from the buildings, you can't go to the garage. So you need to go out, and then there's centralized pipes with the garage. And I guess that's because then anybody can use the garage as they're arriving to the buildings. All good. However, there was no cover as you were walking between the buildings. So underneath all of the buildings, same garage, you go on the level, and then they're isolated different buildings. And if you move from a building 3 to 4 to 6 to 7, there's no cover.
Okay,
and guess
so
what?
In the rain, you got to go in the rain. Because there's no way.
Guess what, Seattle? It rains. There's even snow.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, which is interesting. Well, I mean, yes and no. I can imagine that it simplifies things because then you can kind of have security at the door as opposed to you have an elevator and somebody can go out, and then you need to have like once you are in the building through the outside door, you're in.
Yes.
And because otherwise you would need to have like another desk with a gate in the building, which maybe isn't a part of that.
Kind of makes sense. Again, so a lot of these things like, okay, there's clearly a reason behind that, but again, the lack of cover it's like what it looked like a how would I put this in a nice way? It really looked like an awesome campus designed for California. However, in Seattle weather.
Well, you're tourists, so
yeah, and most likely they will fix it. They will figure it out. I'm probably not the only one who's thinking like, why it's raining? Why am I getting wet as I'm walking between the buildings? Because that was quite common. So
yeah, fair enough. On the other hand, like, why would you walk between buildings?
That's true.
Isn't that why we have teams?
Yeah, partly yes, but when you fly over 6,000 miles and then you want to meet people,
yes,
not just doing teams.
But I mean, so it isn't like the Apple campus where it's just like one building end to end, like you just walk around, like get everywhere within one thing, right? It's separate.
It's separate, isolated buildings, which is kind of nice. It really feels like a small village, a high technology village. So it is cool. It's no doubt it's cool. And then there's if you go to the food hall, whatever the food hall, what we call that, you have like 25 different restaurant options and all of that. So it's mind-boggling.
Isn't it the same thing that we had in Commons already?
Kind of, yeah, kind of. So, but basically, underneath certain buildings like 6 and 4, there's the whole building first floor, which is massive, was just food hall. So you can basically, and then restaurants. So you can actually pick up whatever you want to eat today, Mediterranean or Vietnamese or Nepalese or whatever comes to mind.
Like today? What do you feel like eating today? Yeah.
Exactly. But that is nice, and it gives the flexibility on people prefer different kind of foods, we can still hang on the same space. So you're not actually selecting the restaurants; you're just selecting the food and then shared spaces between. So
that's cool. That is really cool.
But anyway, hopefully you'll get to be there at some point sooner or later. So you'll see the new one as well. Commons was good, but this is like a bit more advanced and more. Commons is already relatively old. Well, it's not old, but so this is high-end technology.
Than the original campus, but compared to the new campus, it's old.
Yes, yes,
I get it.
exactly. So everything is so relative. Anyway, back from the MVP Summit, and let's focus on this one. So today we had a visitor. We already actually recorded that. I'm spilling the beans, so I know how well that went, and that went really well. So no edits needed. Maybe one beep added on the audio. So that's it. Without hiding anything, just for
the beep.
Anyway. But we have our visitor this week is
Rick van Rousselt. He is a Belgian MVP. He has been involved with the community for a long time already. He's been an MVP. Actually, I don't even know for how long, but I think a while. And we had a great chat about AI, teams,
and Copilot.
building things, where the market is, what customers are asking about, what are the challenges, opportunities. So great chat with Rick. I would say without further ado, let's go to the interview.
Sounds good. Let's jump in. Excellent. Let's get started. So welcome, Rick, directly almost from Redmond. Any jet lag from last week?
Almost, yeah. I have a little bit of jet lag. It was, when did I arrive? I think at 1 p.m. on Saturday I got home.
Okay.
So that's still doable. I got
much
a little bit of,
yeah,
sitting in the sofa in the evening. I was like, okay, this is not going to work. But
I will not fall asleep. But besides every single time, it's like I will not fall asleep.
Yeah.
So we started with that one, but let's go back in a bit more. Okay, who are you and why are you tired? What did you do last week?
Who are you and why are you tired? That's a great intro.
Yes.
I was tired because I was invited on this meet. No. So yeah, my name is Rick. I'm from Belgium. I do solution architecture or whatever you want to call it. Thingies. I work for Advantive. And I got tired because it was the MVP Global Summit last week. So all MVPs got invited to join Microsoft in Redmond and discuss, the new things that are coming, give feedback on existing things, and just, have chats with the product groups, which is really fun and interesting to do. Yep. It's a nice way to see that how Microsoft works, because sometimes we think, it's a big corporation, an enterprise, and there's 200,000 people working there, and they're worth billions of dollars. But in the end, it's still people. It's still people doing their job, trying to figure out their job, trying to do things. So we sometimes forget that when we watch the news and look at the big Microsoft logo, which is sometimes weird. But that's a good thing about something like that.
And without sharing any, spilling beans or sharing, because like the whole event is under NDA, right? So without going into details, what's your kind of like generic or general feeling
theme
having been at the summit? Are you optimistic, energized, hopeful for the future, or the opposite? Like, no, this is going to be, the end of the world.
No. I think
I'm going to stop the recording in a second. 1, 2, 3.
No, I think cool things are coming. We got to saw really cool things. I think the main theme was Copilot. I'm not sure if that's on the NDA, but at least I said it now. So yeah, you can just say beep.
I think it's fair.
Beep it out.
Yeah.
But I think the way the world is evolving, because all the large language models, it is the next big thing in the IT sector, and not only IT, also for other jobs that will be impacted by this. I don't know, HR, legal, things like that. They will really be able to benefit from this, and I think that's the way the world is going forward. So we got to see lots of great ideas that we're pointing on in that direction, and see how can people benefit from the large language models and the next big step in IT. Because I think after the cloud, it's the biggest thing that's going to happen to us.
Yeah. I still remember back in when I started studying, but when I was like 95, there was this statement where, hey, so pretty soon within 20 years, every single person will be using computers, and within any job, they will be actually using computers to make that job happen. And you're like, well, drivers, car drivers, everything else, now that's not going to happen. And of course it happened. It was part of the big transition of making sure that we have these massive computers within our hands and making things. The next big thing then obviously was the cloud transition, and now we're heading to as big bang with an AI and LLMs and making the computers actually understand. Well, does the computer understand what we're saying, or is it just math? But that's philosophical question. But
that's philosophical question. Yeah, let's go into that one. But it's we used to add to. That's why we studied IT. We learned how to talk to the computer, and now it's going to be the other way around. So the threshold is going to be way lesser, because you're going to have way less people who say, computers, I don't understand anything about that one. No,
correct.
It's just talk to the thing, and it will know what you want, and it will help you. So
Rick, I think so. On our end, like on our end, I think we are very much immersed in it, in the space. We are, in other words, in a bubble, right? So for us, being on the edge, like, it seems like, oh my God, everybody's in it. I wonder to what extent the customers you work with, do they share the same sentiment, like AI is here and it's changing the world, or are they, like a bit, I wouldn't say behind, like, because if we're ahead, then they are kind of where there should be. So do they also feel the kind of I don't know, call it unrest, urgency, pressure, or is it only the feeling that we get because we are so ahead of it?
I'm going to give you the consultancy answer. It depends. I think.
Okay.
I think the entire world was shocked. Yeah, I think the entire world got shocked when OpenAI announced, I think GPT 3.5 back a year ago. So and everybody saw that, and everybody started using it. Everyone, most people, even normal people. I've seen marketing people like, I need to change HTML. And wait, let me ask this thing instead of calling the IT guy, and they figured out how it works. But it's also new. So with new things, I think it's natural for people. They also fear it, especially companies, big customers. They say, what is this? Why does this thing understand what I'm saying, and why does it give the correct answer? So I know we all know. We know that's because we're IT.
Or why does it not give you the right answer? Because that happens every now and then as well. But still,
that also happens, and so that also brings fear. Like, okay, if this thing can help me this good, because I just needed to this simple task, I don't know, summarize this document. The document is like 20 pages. If I had to do it manually, it would take me like a few hours. Now the thing does it in a few seconds. How come this thing is doing it so correctly? And the first thing they probably will do is we'll check it. Hey, is this summarization correct? God, darn it, it's a correct summarization. And then they're like, okay, what more can this thing do? And of course, I think Hollywood doesn't help with all the movies that in the last 50 years came out that, AI is going to take over the world and we'll be the AI slaves. So that also doesn't help people in the back of their minds think, okay, now it's happening.
True. I think obviously that's science fiction. We're not there yet. I think you said it really well, that the computer starts understanding what we want. I think that's the fundamental bits and pieces on the ALM and transition. Of course, that opens up then a massive amount of other scenarios, right? But it's really, if you really drill into what is the massive change with OpenAI and this LLMs, and what is the fundamental bits and pieces. I guess it's the fact that, oh my God, it understands my intent.
Yep. That is the main, and I think even all the use cases that we can do with it, we haven't figured it out yet. We now know, okay, this is powerful, but what else can it do then? I think we're just at the baby step, like, okay, summarizing your document, but the real big steps are still need to come. Like, okay, if it can do this, then maybe we can also let it do this. And really, I know that's why I think the word Copilot is so well chosen, actually, because it will help.
It is a good name.
It will be your Copilot in your day-to-day job. I've seen use cases where you just, okay, I'm a consultant. What do I do at the end of the week? Okay, I look in my calendar. Okay, I worked for that customer. That amount of hours, and then I have to put it in the system. Why Copilot would they be able to do that? Okay, what make me my timesheet? It knows what meetings I had. Put it in the totally different system to do time registrations. Will help me save an hour a week. So just by doing that. So and that's maybe just
which justifies the cost, right? Because if it's save an hour in a week, that's 4 hours in a month, which increases our productivity. How many hours within anyway? But it's you from a percent perspective, and then you start considering, okay, what is the cost? Well, actually, this is reasonable. So again, I think the price point is not too bad for M365 Copilot as an example.
No, I think the price point is okay, and that even brings you to the point that customers investing in it will have their productivity increased, and their competition might not have that. So that also is going to give weird economic situations, because the big companies probably they all have money to spend, so they can probably invest and they will become even bigger. So I think we have to not convince the big companies, because they have dedicated teams to know what they're doing. I think the SMBs are the ones that we need to convince that this is going to be the next big thing.
Well, on the other hand, I can imagine like the other side to it. Big companies are big. They are, organized, well-established, defined processes and all of that, which makes every single change that more difficult. Whereas SMB, they can just change. They can change. So in that sense, once an SMB understands, like, yes, we should be doing this, I think it's way easier for them to experiment with something than it is to a big org. So I guess like there are benefits, like there are pros and cons to every side of it, like being big, being small. Like the one thing I'm interested in, like you mentioned that your customers, are thinking about summarizing content and all that. Like, are those the typical use cases you talk to them? Like, where do they start, and what is kind of the path you take them along, trying to show them the benefit of doing things with AI?
I think like the summarization, that's just the easy bit. That's the first thing you open with. Like, okay, this is what this thing can do, just to get started. Because you have to first of all, you have to start somewhere, and second of all, it's one of the things it can do really good. And then next step is okay. What about what? It depends on the use case of the customer, of course. What business are they in? Do they do lots of legal stuff? Then you can see. Okay, these are all the laws we ingest, and then so this will help you get your information super fast. Other companies are more into manufacturing, so they'll probably need more engineering stuff. Like, okay, I have this, or somebody else is building that. Can you help me with that? That will also be super helpful. So it's also it's depending on the customers. I'm gonna say it. I'm a true consultant. I say it depends a lot.
Well, I mean,
Waldek, it depends.
No, I mean that makes sense. It's a in a way it's perfect thing, but it's very much illustrating like the common departure point, if you like, is summarizing thing, because it's something that is time consuming and it doesn't require the creative part to it. It's in low hanging fruit in a way.
Yes.
And then from there you can think more about more elaborate things, right?
Now, Rick, you've been actively involved within the Teams platform and creating bots and all of that. And let's face it, bot framework and bots have been really powerful chat engines and all of that. But in the enterprise world, it really hasn't taken off at the level what we introduced that, which is basically this is going to take over the world and everybody's moving to the chat windows and the UI is now chat, because that was already talked about like 5 to 6 years ago, right? But at least for me, sure, I use bots for some of my operations and technical stuff, but is this now then the new dawn of the bots? And do you actually see that we are transitioning from UX, graphical user interfaces, finally to the bots, or how do you see this?
Graphical user interfaces will always remain. I think the final goal, it will be a mixture. It will be text-based, but also add an adaptive card so people can still click somewhere, and at least text-based. It's sometimes easier on your phone than building a UX on your phone. You can just type it in. But I think the main issue we had with the speech will even be more powerful. But I think the main issue we had with all those bots were, we had to define the intents and the entities, and it was a cumbersome job. It was if you make it very simple, turn on the lights, turn off the lights bot. That was pretty where the demo was. That's pretty basic and that's simple. But I've seen bots where they really had like 5-6 people defining intents, changing intents, updating sentences every week and adding more and more and more. And they finally came to production, and then suddenly the bot didn't do what people wanted because we forgot about this.
Turn the lights on, turn on the lights. If the intent, turn the lights on versus turn lights on, turn on lights, and it's like both of them you needed to kind of tackle in the if, and now we don't need to do that, right?
So I think that will progress way farther, and that will make it way easier to get the large language model will get the intent way easier out of there, and I think. How I usually describe it, if you talk now to ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo or maybe 4, it's like, explain what you want, but explain it to a 12-year-old. And I think the bots before was like, explain it to a 3-year-old, and if he doesn't understand, maybe do an additional drawing for it. So or it's how I explain IT to my wife. It's with there's this boy coming here and he's talking to this girl, and then so that's how I need to explain.
Okay, this is a family show, Rick.
Different topic, Vesa.
Or with sticks and stones. I always have to explain it very simple how IT works to my wife. So and that problem we had with the other bots as well. That was were too much hassle, too much work. People still had to understand, this bot is being used for, I don't know, add something to our time registration system, but you need to use this command. And so, I have a bot in the Teams store. It's used quite frequently. And actually, there's no intent to it. The only thing it does is this Bing search. So, it's something that's simple was, for that reason, that was perfect. And I think now it's way better with the large language models. Now that we can actually say, instead of doing a Bing search, look in your, the model that you have, the knowledge that you build up from the training, look what the answer is. And then it will find an answer which is more, I think, more directed than a simple search query. Because
you mentioned an interesting point. I think that there is really a great segue towards RAG, right? Being the pattern, like how do you bring additional info to an LLM, right? Because like LLM is a model. And typically like 9 out of 10 times, an org will not build a model because it's just too expensive to build, to host, and to train, right? So in other words, alternative is RAG, right? The ability to enrich LLM with additional data that they've got, like you mentioned, legal, but it could be also HR, anything like. What thinking do you already see within the customers you work with around that, around like building their own chat-like experiences on that, and what challenges do they see as they go into that?
I've seen 2 different use cases. One was indeed legal, where they just added all the laws from Belgium, which is every day they keep changing, they keep updating that, and it did a RAG on that one just to help legal people find the correct law, even if it's if it gives a reference, but even if it's partially okay, it's way easier to find that than looking into the official laws of Belgium to see, okay, what did change this week and what changed next week. So that's one thing. The other thing I've seen is also, very specific company data, like HR data, what's the leave policy and stuff like that. But the challenge I've seen with those is, not with the legal one, but with the HR one is, people tend to mix and match then that if you do RAG with the original large language model. So then you say, okay, we've enriched it with your data, and they will test that and see, oh yeah, my data is in there. And then 5 seconds later, they will ask the model, how do I make chicken tikka masala? And then the model says, well, how did I, this is not, but ChatGPT can do that. Yeah, I know, but we just changed it, and altered it.
We struck down and optimized it for your business case, not for the...
So I think the like you said, RAG, retrieval augmented, and fine-tuning and all that stuff, I think it needs to boil down a little bit more to most people, that we can change those large language, that is not the ChatGPT that everyone knows from the news, but that is a little bit, I don't want to say customized, but altered for a specific use case, and that people don't need to ask, how do I create a recipe in my kitchen to that model.
Kind of related on this one. So how do you, what do you see would be the easiest discussion points going to a customer and start pitching about this idea? So basically being like, hey, let's actually test things out. Let's build a proof of concept for you. What kind of proof of concepts do you see?
I know. The answer is, it depends.
No. I think step one, if I go to a customer, is, are your people using ChatGPT? Because that data officially can be used if you don't have a subscription. And then they will say no, and then I will ask them, can you check
Shadow
the box
IT?
Can you check
Shadow
the box
IT?
in the
There you
proxy?
go.
Yeah, and then the first thing we do is actually just set up an Azure OpenAI large language model, just basic, plain, just like ChatGPT, just plain. Here's to use it, and block the other one on the proxy. And then after 2 weeks, they come back and they, we add some additional logging. What are people putting in? And then after 2 weeks, they come back with, okay, so the VP of Finance just entered his report from this year that is still totally secret, and he asked to summarize it or to update it. Did he do that to ChatGPT then last year? Probably. So that's and then they see the power of it. But then that's purely based on security, because that's these days security is not only with Microsoft, but in most companies is very high up the food chain, because open the news and somebody's hacked or somebody's been targeted, or in Belgium, it's very sad news, but they hacked a Belgian brewery, a real big Belgian brewery, and that they shut down 2 plants in Belgium and 1 in the US. So as a Belgian, I find that very disturbing, that there is no more beer being produced.
Which beer was impacted?
It was a Duvel brewery. So
wow.
Duvel. I know that.
Duvel, they had to shut down. I think 1 plant in Belgium is back online. It was 2 weeks ago, and the other ones are still offline. The only thing they could find is, okay, just shut down all the plants, which is for a company not end of life, but that's costing millions.
Well, I think the Las Vegas had something similar happening in one of the Las Vegas chains, casinos, last autumn.
So everybody's up real high with security. So that's step one, to get your foot in the door, as I might say. And then you can start discussing, okay, now let's see how we can make your company benefit from this technology. Because usually they notice it by themselves, because they start using OpenAI, Azure OpenAI or ChatGPT, doesn't matter, a large language model. And they say, it would be easier if, so usually one of the typical questions they ask it is, okay, who's the CEO of a company? But the large language model was trained like 2 years ago, half a year ago.
I have no idea.
It would start getting creative. And then this is not correct. And then we say, but wait, we can change that. We can make it correct. And then start doing proof of concepts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think we also have to see that we're gonna have lots of those bots. I hope not too much, but you now have, or I see that it's gonna be fragmented, because HR is asking us to do a proof of concept, and legal is asking us to do a proof of concept, and finance is asking to do a proof of concept, and you're gonna have mixed, and people are not gonna
Copilot.
know. People are not gonna know anymore which one do I have to go to ask.
Shadow Pilot.
Well, and I think so. That's also an interesting point, right? Because one hand, you want to optimize them for a use case or around a topic, right? So you will have ChatGPT or GPT for this, GPT for that. One, what if there's the gray area, let's say, between marketing and sales? Where do you go to? Like, where does one stop, the other starts? Because now, as you said, like I can talk to you about all the things I know we could talk about. Like, we can talk about beer, we can talk about work, we can I don't need to say like there's this one Rick, you talk about work, and then there's the other Rick, like it's just you.
You haven't met the other Rick, clearly.
Dude. Right. So how do we kind of think? How do you think we deal with this? Like, let's say fluent human expectations of being able to like push the boundaries and just naturally go from one topic to another that spans the boundaries of GPTs.
Yeah, I think if I use a name correctly, Copilot for Microsoft 365 is gonna be like one of those overarching things that will connect everything together, because you will need something that does the handover, that's smart enough to know, hey, this may be not my area of expertise, I might need to check with this one or with
I've got another Rick. There's Rick to talk about beer. There's another Rick to talk about the IT.
I think kind of
multiple Ricks case makes sense, but overarching is good thing for enterprise data for sure. So
we'll need to, but it will be something like that, because people, the use cases of people will say, okay, I now have these, I don't know, 1 gigabyte of HR documents. I want that Copilot or that OpenAI language model to know about those documents. And then, they will test only for those documents, of course, because that's what they know. And the finance people will test those documents, what they know. You always have like a segregation there. So you will need something that merges them back together for the end user. I think that's something we'll have to figure out in the upcoming months and years, how we'll solve that problem. But I don't see any, I've seen the power of the large language models, and I don't see any problem with that. We will find a way to get that. We also already had that problem as well with the old bots. There is also different kind of architecture models that say, okay, hand over to the other one when this happens, and hand over to the other one if that happens. So we did that. Used to be on Intense, but I think now we'll have to merge that architecture with the new large language models.
Yeah.
So,
another thing I wonder about, like the way you see that. I don't know if you recall, you've been around when we released Delve, right? So Delve being the experience that you had in Microsoft 365 that allow you to find new content relevant to you based on the relationships that we track in Microsoft 365. Or like we worked together, that builds up a relationship, and then if you open a file and I have the access to it, I will be able to see that hey, you worked on the file. It might be interesting to me as well, right? So we kind of got that from Delve. And one of the caveats was that suddenly people started discovering new content that people weren't aware. I didn't know that people could see that, right?
Yes.
So kind of
how can you access this document?
all these, files up, because from permissions point of view, they will available to everybody, right? You just because you didn't share the link in the open doesn't mean that the file isn't there and isn't accessible to everybody, right? So do you see Copilot kind of being this new wave of this, basically Delve, like showing up new content? And how do you see organizations think with it? Like, do they struggle with it? And if so, how do they address that? Or it's like not an issue at all? It's perfectly fine.
Did you check my calendar? I just came out of a meeting that before this call that said, "Oh no, Copilot can see everything. We need to move everything again." But it's the same thing as with Delve. But if they didn't fix it with Delve back then, they said because that was the easiest way to solve it with Delve is turn it off.
Turn it off,
turn it off. Nobody can see it.
Which doesn't really solve anything because it's still in search and you can still find the things. Yeah.
Yep. So I have the as customers, two ends of the spectrum. One that did turn it off and said, okay, let's fix it in the future. And now they're turning on Copilot. It's the same story. And now they're panicking because Copilot can find everything, which is even, I always compare it. So they said, but Copilot can find that because you have access. And I'm like, but people already had access. Copilot is just the same guy, but with 1,000 years of time to read, and so do a search in SharePoint with a star, find everything, and take your time, read every document. Only that thing is super fast. So yeah. But if I had time, I would read all the documents as well. And then you have the other end of the spectrum who already back then thought, okay, because we see this in Delft, we need to be careful with permissions. Let's do some user training. Let's not put everything out in the open, which is always a difficult discussion, because as a company, you want to promote, let's work together. Let's not have somebody create a document, and then somebody else who doesn't know that he created that document, created the same document or a similar one again, and that's times 7. So they want to promote, okay, let's be open because we want to work together. And then there's the other end. Yeah, then you have to say, okay, but you also have to be careful with what you share with confidential information and stuff like that. So yeah, but I've seen some customers who actually spent the time back then and said, okay, we need to think about what's confidential, what's closed, what can you access, what can't you access. And they actually have less issues now because, they just, okay, they're still, I'm not going to say because your information architecture is perfect, because no information architecture is perfect. They don't have any issues, but it's less. It's changing 10 teams from public to private, or checking some access levels from guests and stuff like that is way easier than, I just came out of a meeting where they said, okay, we need to change 5,000 SharePoint sites back to private because they're all open, and 7,000 teams. So yeah, that's a different story.
Wow.
Because
Bring in the script.
Let me get to it.
Yes. I was typing to a colleague. Yeah, I hear dev work. Lots of dev work.
Get clicking.
But that's obviously in here. It's good to call out that obviously compliancy and all the compliance automation will of course help. We pretty recently, we had this issue within our thing because we have a website where we're sharing information, right? And the website was internally in Microsoft set to be open for everyone. But then I guess we had a document, or what was it, which basically triggered.
We had a label denoting the site as confidential, but then open to everybody in the org, and that doesn't matter. So we got email saying, hey, you either adjust the label or the access, but you cannot have it in 2 ways. Like, well, that makes sense.
Yep. But that's a nice level of an automation, and so the compliance automation and labeling, everything else is then behind of the scenes, making sure things are working right. I also love the fact that if I'm trying to save a confidential document, for example, to that site, and it would be open then for more broadly, it will actually be visible in Word. It will tell me that no. Your document this is not matching.
You're holding it wrong.
Compliancy and confidential levels are not correct.
Cool thing about this is that also the empowerment of the site owners and the folks who create the content, as opposed to now it's going to send email somebody to admin somewhere, and that person needs to figure it out. Like in our scale, that wouldn't work. Like I don't even know who the tenant admin is at Microsoft. Like
no idea either.
Some say they exist. I don't know.
The whole system is running under my desk, so it's
but I know. We've also had more requests for sensitivity labels projects, data loss prevention projects, because that's what Copilot triggers. That you say, okay, we messed up somehow. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Let's start with sensitivity labels, and because making errors is human. I uploaded this confidential document to the wrong team. Oh well, it happens. Why not? Yeah, but if you have systems that put in place, like, are you sure? Are you really sure that you want to do this? Are you sure you want to send this out? Then that also helps, because people then think twice, because people are under pressure. They need to do their work. They need to hurry up. So
it's interesting that you mentioned that Copilot is the forcing factor behind improving security and compliance posture of orgs. Like you wouldn't expect that link.
It's
right?
finally fully visible how open
it's
you
even
are.
More visible.
Right?
It was it was there in a way, but now it's now it's really obvious, right?
Yeah. And even small companies, a company of I think 10 people or something, they even they were in the same building as us. They're even thinking about that, because now they're like, it used to be like, okay, old school, I don't want to show you the tenant, because it's like, okay, we used to have this file server, now we've moved it into Teams, and now we have 2.5 terabytes in one team, which is like with all subfolders. But they're thinking of it. They're even understanding, okay, this is maybe not a good idea to do it like this.
Yes. No subfolders in the document library. Well, few, yes, but not like a terabytes of data.
Massive, My OneDrive sync is not working to that document library because I have 20 million folders deep.
What's wrong with the F drive?
U drive or whatever the user drive or whatever it is.
But
we used to have those when I started in Microsoft, so we transitioned away from that. So
shares, right? The file shares.
Yes.
But that triggers me, because you said in the beginning, okay, we're at the forefront, but I think, you have to define we, because I've also seen it's not always IT. Not everyone is at the forefront as us. There's also I've seen the small IT guy who does the the bakery around the corner, and he sets up a PC, and they need email, so he sets up Office 365 for them, and then
and they never know about the historical things, and that's it.
Yeah, or even just the default settings that you have to switch in a tenant. Like, did you turn this off? Did you turn this on? No idea. Isn't it just like get out credit card and pay, and Microsoft fixes everything? No, you have to know what you're doing. So it's not all IT guys.
And I guess with that, another thing that I think it's a great improvement that I've seen us do over the last, I think, year already, like the safe defaults or secure defaults, security defaults, like things like MFA enabled, and even to the point where it's enforced. Like at some point, you can only postpone it so many times, and at some point, it's like you cannot exit. Like you need to change MFA now, and you're like, but then it's done, and it's just one additional thing that you've got in your bag to kind of prevent yourself from all these, attacks and
that's
things.
Unfortunately seen as an inconvenience for many customers or end users until
you're affected, until everybody's affected, and you're like, and I'm not.
Correct. Correct. Why are you forcing MFA? Well, because it's for your benefit. No, but it's difficult and hard. No. It's for your benefit. So why MFA being multi-factor authentication, by the way, for anybody who's like, what is MFA again? So
I learned that Microsoft is forcing MFA, but apparently not forcing people to pay, because it was a Christmas Eve. My business partner got a phone call from, I don't know, some freelance who had a Microsoft 365 tenant for his emails. And no idea who he was. He just called. Yeah, it was on a Sunday, but by the way, Christmas Eve last year. Yeah, I lost all my mails. Can you help me? So yeah, sure. So he helped him. So his license was removed. It was like, yeah, but your license is gone. When did the last time you paid for a license? I don't know, a year ago or something. Like, what? So you expect your email to work without a license? I don't know.
Well, I think we are sending emails reminding you about expired license, but if you don't read them, well, there's only that much that we can do.
Yep. Luckily, he was still logged in with his browser, and we could add one more license. But because he just needed one license. It was a single guy, freelancer, and he called on a Sunday, and then he said to my business partner, "Is it okay that I call you today on a Sunday? Because if you want, I can call you back tomorrow." My business partner said, "Tomorrow's Christmas. I don't think my wife is gonna like it. I will do it today." And after an hour of phone call, the guy said, "So you are Microsoft?" No, we're not Microsoft yet.
I mean, it only shows like how hard it is for folks to really wrap their head around this. Like, it's crystal clear for us because we are so immersed in it. But for everybody else who has, their business, their job, it's not a priority, right?
Mm-hmm. IT is still there to help people.
Yeah, and it's not an area where you want to spend your time because you have other things to worry and make money and business, and it's inconvenience. But then it just has to work, which is always a challenge within IT. It's basically when everything works, nobody cares, but when it fails, point the finger.
Then it becomes urgency immediately, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that I know. It's always a P1 emergency. Everything has to fall down because.
Yeah. And everything is a P1 emergency, always.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
P0, stop everything. What?
And I always find it easy. And what did you do? No, I didn't touch it. So you didn't delete this file? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Exactly.
Let's not get lost on the details.
What did you do again? I didn't do anything. What did you do again? That happens a lot. Anyway, from a timing perspective, I guess we need to start wrapping up on things. I have to say, as I were chatting, just out of curiosity, it's just reference point for those who are still like Copilot, what's the value of Copilot? So simple example. So I was just double checking, for example, the Finnish car benefit policy in Finland for Finland Microsoft. And this is something what I actually double checked last week from the intranet for whatever reason. And I tried to find the policy document using search, and then I found the policy document, and it's like 10 pages. But the beauty of the Copilot, again, in M365 in Teams, I just go there and I ask, poof. And it gives me actually also references on the laws in Finland for website references and all of that, which is actually brilliant. I saved a lot of time and money if I would have done this already last week. So
the references are really cool because it needs to, you can verify that it's correct.
Correct.
It helps with this thing is not hallucinating. It's just, this is correct because here, look, I found
exactly.
it
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Cool. Anyway, what's happening this week, Rick? Anything interesting on your table?
I think getting rid of the jet lag is number one. And then getting back to work. I already did emails and a few meetings already, so that's good.
Copilot, can you please mark all as red? Done.
Yeah. Then I think playing around with the bits that we got shown last week, if we're allowed to play around with them, then I would.
With some
love
of
to do
them,
that.
True.
Yeah, we'll make some time for that. That will be awesome if I can do that. And that's it. I think I don't know if you heard it, but they're remodeling the house as well. That's why my office is so messy. Because
bit of background noise, not too much.
Yeah,
we'll fix it in post edit. So
yeah, they're remodeling the house. So that's also. I think my wife has some chores for me this week as well. So.
Being 1 week away as they've been doing that, so it's your turn.
Yes,
make this happen.
Indeed. Yeah. I already got to paint yesterday, which was fun.
That's good. What about you, Waldek? What's on your table this week?
Tomorrow, or as we're releasing this show today on Tuesday, March 19, we're going to show a new feature that we've got in DevProxy, which is really cool, which allows you to simulate the notifications for graph connectors that you get in Teams admin center. So that is really something brand new that we've built, that we've shipped the other week in preview, and we're going to show that to everybody. So that is really cool. Other than that, we're still doing the experiment around what if you could do a learn module for M365 Dev without a tenant. So if you didn't have a chance to look at that, we have a module adjusted to that. So if you didn't have a chance to look at it,
reference on the notes,
please do, because it's a really cool experiment, a really cool thing that we think might help a bunch of folks. We'd love to hear from you how you like it, whether that's something you like, you would use or not, and if so, why. So we'd like to learn that.
And on that one, before you continue, let's get back on your week in a second. Just to call it out, Microsoft 365 developer program is not shut down. Just to be super clear on that, it does exist still. Currently, we do have a policy change, which is intended to be momentarily, not a permanent, which says that you need to have a Visual Studio subscription to make that happen. And that does have an impact for developer tenants. And the reason why I'm calling this out is that nobody thinks that, we're heading to a direction where you don't need the developer tenants. The answer is no. We're looking into getting the developer tenant and the program back. There are certain adjustments to be done. And you can subscribe a trials, which will expire. We understand that, but the program will come back with a better model sooner or later. But there's a certain level of a delay on that.
Yeah, and maybe to add to that, the reason for our experiment isn't the change in program. It's meant to simplify onboarding. If you are net new to it, you haven't built an M365 app in the past ever. You don't have a tenant. So in order for you to complete a module, now you need to go through the hoops of registering, getting the tenant, and so forth and so on. It takes time. So here we think what if we can allow you to start learning immediately to lower the onboarding? Yes, at some point you will need a tenant. You will want to see how things work for real.
You actually deploy stuff.
Exactly. And you see your app in Teams, see your Copilot that you've built, right? You want to be able to see it at some point. But do you need to start with that always? We think not. Right? So we're looking into other ways, how can we simplify the onboarding experience so that you can start learning immediately. And then down the road, once you think yes, that is cool. I tried it. I wrote some code. Now I'm ready for the next step. So that is kind of thinking on our end, why we're looking into ways to do some experiments around learn, right? Because we want to simplify that experience.
Don't make it too simple. It's one of my. If somebody
We're raising
comes
the bar, Rick.
If somebody comes to apply for a job at me, so we have a first talk, and between the first and the second talk, they have to, they get, just time, all the time you need between the first and the second one. Make sure you have a dev tenant. It's documented everywhere. See how it works, and deploy, depending on what the job interview is about. So deploy an SPFX app or deploy Power App or whatever. Here's the use case. See how far you can go. So that was, don't make it too easy on them, because I need to test my people somehow. The newbie,
no, we're raising the bar.
I think that has been one of the classic challenges on all of the hands-on labs and tutorials and all of that stuff. Like Teams Toolkit is brilliant on simplifying things, but then when you start having discussions on, okay, so how do I deploy this in production?
I give it to admin.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't have access to it, right? To production.
True.
That's the answer.
True.
No developer has access to prod.
I 100% agree on that. So, good. Anything else, Waldek, on your table?
Anything else? Sorry. I think that is a lot already. We're doing some more things. Like the other day, I had a chance to. I don't know if you are aware of that. Like in the JavaScript side of things in Azure, we have this really cool hero app, the Contoso Real Estate. It's an Angular app connected to a bunch of things on Azure, like MongoDB, storage queues, everything, including even it integrates even with Stripe for payments. And we've done some tests around, hey, like, can we test the resilience side of this app with proxy? So we will have some more things to share around that.
Cool.
Yeah, that is basically it. Like, there's a bunch of stuff going on, but top of mind, these are the 3 things.
Makes sense.
Vesa, what about you after being away for a week? How good is your? What's the state of your
it's
inbox?
Pretty horrible. It's fine. So obviously it was a good opportunity of catching up with friends and colleagues and MVPs like Rick. We had also off time from the schedule, which is great to hang and have a relaxation among friends, which is always great. My flight coming back on the MVP summit wasn't super sweet either, because I was diverted in San Antonio on a flight to Dallas because of the thunderstorms, and then staying on a tarmac for a few hours and waiting to potentially get to Dallas, and you had no idea if you're going to get there. But it's good learning there was also the patience. Just sit there and wait. It will figure out. Things will figure it out. So a lot of people were pretty freaked out on San Antonio, and then they left the plane, and then they needed to figure out themselves how to get places. So, but again, got my connection and all good, and landed home on whatever, less than 24 hours ago. But time zone's not a massive deal for me for whatever reason. I don't know. I guess I'm somehow being able to learn to manage with them, which is good. I travel too much, but glad to catch on the messages. And then we're rolling out SharePoint Framework 1.19 beta pretty soon, so that's going to be interesting. And then a lot of features coming up on Viva Connection as well. So working on videos, documentation, and some partner storytelling as well on the Viva Connection. So there's a lot of cool videos coming up on and stories related on what people are building. So really, really cool stuff. A lot of other ideas what we can do, but more importantly, obviously, weekly process, the community calls, and thank you, Waldek, for the call demo already advanced for the Tuesday, and then Thursday a community call, and Wednesday Power Platform monthly community calls. We're looking into having again more than 1,200 live attendees this week, which is
really cool.
Yes, and I have to call this out because I'm super stoked on that one as well. David Warner is coming back pretty soon from his break, which is awesome. So getting some help on the community call coordination and execution and all of that. So David has been away for a while, but he's coming, I think, next week or week after. So good to have people back on the line. And it's actually really, really important when people are able to have a time off as well. But it's awesome to have them back. And as we always said within a community, so it doesn't matter how long it takes. People need to be able to prioritize family and health. But we'll be here. We'll be always waiting and welcoming them. Nobody should feel bad about not being able to contribute or being active for a while. It's okay. That's life. And then the community is here waiting whenever the time is right. So cool. That sounded super philosophical and anyway, that's good. But I guess that's it for now. Thank you, Rick, on joining. Last time you were in a show was in May 2021. So based on this estimate, you'll be back in the show in 2027. So.
27. Okay, it's a deal.
On episode of 300 and I'm just doing a quick estimate, 350 something. So yeah, we'll see. Right, Waldek?
Correct. Correct. We will get rid like every I mean, every 13th moon or something. Like there is a logic to it.
Yes. But good to catch up. Awesome time actually catching in person as well last week. So thank you for joining on the MVP Summit. It's super important that we're getting the feedback from the MVPs as well, because they reflect the real world versus the bubble where quite often where Microsoft people are living as well. Even though we are living in a bubble as well versus the larger world. But the world is all about bubbles, right? So.
Yes. I don't know. Yes.
With that thought, I guess it's time to close up. We'll jump on in the show. We'll jump on the weekly articles with Waldek. But thank you, Rick, on joining on this one. Really, really cool to catch up.
Yeah, thank you, Rick.
Cheers.
Thank you, Rick.
Hey guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And we're back. Hello, Waldek. My name is Vesa. Who are you? How are you today?
Who are you again?
I'm just a hologram, and they just add the doc for making it more real. So anyway.
Is she moving?
I
cannot see that. It's imperceptible.
Yeah,
might have been a prop.
Busted. Cool. Let's jump on the weekly articles. So last time when we came through the article, it's been a while from that. So we have quite a lot of material to go through. We didn't go all of the things, but of course, anything which is done with PnP Weekly is covered here, and then a lot of Microsoft news as well. A lot of videos as well, but let's go them through a relatively fast pace so people are up to date on what's happening. First of all, in the Microsoft blog, Microsoft 365 blog, we had the Bring Your Copilot to More Customers Worldwide Across Life and Work blog post, which is really talking about, again, the expansion of Copilot Pro offerings for individuals. And the Copilot Pro offering is basically the one which is not the enterprise offering, it's the individual user offering, which you can buy for your Microsoft account. This is really difficult. But again, individual offering, right?
Yes. Correct.
And now we're adding that to be available in multiple other things, Microsoft 365 app and all of that. There are free capabilities and available options about using Copilot, but then Copilot Pro is the paid option. And then you can actually get more advanced scenarios to be available, which is really, really cool. A lot of stuff here. Awesome to see the innovations. And obviously, as we talked with Rick, the Copilot was really the focus area also in the last week in the MVP Summit. A lot of interesting stuff over there. I immediately realized that should not be open, and let's actually jump in here. So a few things from the Microsoft 365 blog. So the Microsoft 365 Community Conference is happening in April 13th, May 2nd in Orlando with few pre-conference workshop days and post-conference workshop days. So we'll be there. I'll be there. Waldek, you won't be there this time, I guess.
I won't
be.
No.
Situation. Yep. But that's happening in Orlando. Looking forward on a new venue, and the program is looking really, 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 really good. So there's a lot of sessions, 150 sessions, overall sessions, 88 Microsoft-led sessions. So quite a lot of people flying over to talk about the latest on the Copilot and AI, and of course individual application level as well. The latest innovation, what's happening on that side. Lot of great stuff across the board. So awesome. Good. God, that's a lot of sessions. Jeez. Now we'll be talking in some of them, so we'll see which one. Randomize. You'll have that one and that one. Oh, interesting. Good. That's not how it works. Anyway, so let's move. Behind the scenes, talking AI and Copilot with Microsoft customer support engineers. There's actually a really interesting blog post as well, talking about the value on the Copilot, what it brings for customers and for the support organization. So, which is interesting. So, this is a interview, which is then being transcribed to be available in here. Just a reference point on the value of the Copilot between the people. Good.
You will get that pop up in every window.
Yes. Almost. I closed most of them, but apparently I missed few. Invest in tech, supercharge your frontline with AI. What seems to be the theme? So, have you noticed the theme within the news?
Frontline?
AI?
Investing? AI? Oh, yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
course.
I still love it's a workshop which Susan Hanley is doing in the workshop, in the community conference, which is AI in IE. Artificial intelligence in information architecture. Or is it other way around?
IA.
Anyway.
IA. Was it IE? What's IE?
Yeah. IE.
Internet Explorer. What?
A, B,
No.
C, D, E. But cool. Basically talking about the AI capabilities and functions which will increase the productivity of the frontline workers. Is this blog post all about? So all of the different capabilities, what's available, and reference points, and what's happening over there. So a lot of awesome innovations across the Viva, across the Microsoft Teams, and accessing the information from any device. So super cool. Upcoming preview of Microsoft Office LTSC 2024. I have no idea what is LTSC 2024.
Long-term servicing channel. It's right in the text.
I can't read.
First paragraph,
yes.
less
Support
sentence.
Office long-term servicing channel. Okay, got it. Subsetted value found. Okay. Got it. Anyway, if you're interested on LTSC, have a look on the blog post. A bit confused on again, need to read a bit more on the insights. Now, on the insights, which is a great segue to this title, which is what's new in the Viva Insights on March 2024. So basically, a lot of innovation happening in the Viva Insights and additional dashboards and insights and details. And this is the March summary on what are the new capabilities in here. Now, what's interesting about the Viva Insights, I have to call this out, because if you're based in Europe and you go to the Viva Insights, you might be like, nothing here. It's a bit more limited than it is in the US because of the privacy laws and everything else. And I guess that there's a certain level of a innovation happening for Europe sooner or later, but they need to go through the privacy sequencing and all of that, because a lot of this data is based on user behavior, and then you need to provide the controls for users to opt out as well, based on the EU laws. So.
Correct. And it's got to be anonymized and optimized, basically in line with our rules and regulations that we've got in Europe.
Correct. Absolutely. Because it's not been a long time when I went there for a while, and then it's like, where is all the data? I used to have so much interesting information here. Where is now that? Can't find it.
I'm here. I can tell you, you're working too much. No.
Some things don't change, I know.
Yeah, there you go.
You know me too well. Maximizing your role as Viva Client administrator, considerations related on the Viva Client if you are an administrator role from the Viva Client side. It's good to see that Viva Client is having a lot more blog posts coming out as well. So if you're interested in Viva Client, please subscribe to that blog's RSS feed or the updates from there as well. Then on the developer side, these are really interesting. This is something which we need to make sure that every single Microsoft Teams developer or an solution owner is aware, because somebody needs to make sure that their solutions are still working after we're transitioning to this new domain. So basically what this means is that we're moving to a new domain from teams.microsoft.com to where's the teams.cloud.microsoft is the new domain. And as part of that transition, we will need to make sure, I don't want to copy the blog post URL. There we go. We need to make the two updates to our existing solutions. So you need to make sure that you're using the Teams.js library version 2.19 or higher. And you need to update the X-Frame options so that your solution can be exposed within the Microsoft Teams from that within that URL as well. So please have a look on the solution. If you're not quite up to date on what does that mean or what is the latest, please use the support and technical support channels what we have. Updating of the Teams.js library should not be a big deal. It's backward compatible, but when 2.19 basically is capable of understanding the new URLs. And if you don't do this, your solution will stop working. So it's quite critical.
Starting from June 24.
June 24. So we have 3.5 months. So important, really important thing to do. Now, Stephen Yin had a blog post related to maximize your Office add-ins and success with free Microsoft Partner Program. Super important thing to be aware as well. And this is all about focusing on ISV success and getting the certifications and all of that in place, and basically accessing more assets through the partner programs what we have. Good reminder on the free opportunities what we have on the Power Platform side. Power Automate, let's start from there. March 2020 update on Power Automate for desktop. So what are the new things available? It's an interestingly flexible solution to do things. Even mouse, tracing and recording and all of that it's in the tool. So it's a good way of automating things. And then introducing Power Effects on desktop flows, empowering market makers with low-code capabilities. And this basically desktop flows. That's really interesting. So functions, we can do more things. Anyway, I'm not going to go too much detail on the things.
I can do what, and then it's going down. There is no audience. Don't worry about it. This is like a unique chance for us to see how you go down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
That's it.
Bit of an ADHD reaction. What? Oh, what's there? Anyway, introducing inline actions. So that's good as well. So basically, inline actions to the Power Automate, Power Apps. Sorry, so we're able to do more efficient experiences for authoring for common authoring tasks. So you don't have to go to the property setting and all of that. You have the inline actions directly within as you're building the application in the UX. It's pretty cool for Power Apps. Constant innovation here as well. And this blog post, sorry, I have to call this out. The title is a bit clickbait-ish, so to say. So because I'm investing our success in Microsoft Power Automate or investing our success in where, what, who. The title is a bit,
what does it mean?
Missing the context. Exactly. But when you start reading, there's a Microsoft Power Accelerator program, which will basically, if you can join, you can get more access on the Microsoft and your career will be better. But bit of a clickbait title. So I guess hopefully we're not heading to this direction as a Microsoft. So like the news websites have gone already. Clickbaiting. You will win. Okay, what am I now winning? Now, this one is really good from Mikael. Should I or should you, or do you want to, whatever? So either way.
I can go through it. Yeah. So for a long time, and like I like your opinion on it too. Like for a long time, we have basically since forever, there was this ability for you to edit SharePoint page and embed on it a piece of script. And with that script, people who weren't managing back then a farm, like weren't really a farm admin, let's say power users could do things. They could customize page, add widgets, add tabs, basically make really rich. You could even call them apps in SharePoint, right? But the caveat is that from internet, you're putting a piece of script on a page, and that script runs in the context of the user. If the user would happen to be CEO or HR employee, that script can on their behalf suck empty the whole internet. Literally, it could do that. It can use search to find any document that the person has access to and then upload it to some external URL. It could
without
do that
the user even knowing.
Without user knowing that, right? So it's a great power and great ability, but it's not without risks.
Yep.
And it's kind of this, this two-side split where, yes, we want people to be able to do more, but on the other hand, like, yes, we care about security too. So should you or should you not do that? Vesa, what's your take?
Do not do that. So don't allow, and make sure that you control what scripts are being running in your intranet or within your Microsoft 365 folder.
How would you do that?
Block enable the no script features. So basically block running any code which is not deployed using SharePoint framework. And then when you're using SharePoint Framework, that is being centrally managed from the app catalog. And any SharePoint Framework solution which is taken into use is being centrally approved and deployed and controlled by the administrators. So super important thing. And this is basically we are setting the settings are by default. We are blocking the scripts, arbitrary scripts from the sites by default within all of the new sites within the future. You're able to flip the settings still, but it will flip back on 24 hours to not allow those things. So the setting actually controls a bit more than just the scripts, but the key point here is blocking custom scripts because there's a security concern there. So
yeah, and maybe to add to that, yes, you should use SPFX because it gives you this managed approach to build and deploy apps. But even then, you need to ensure that whatever npm dependencies you bring in, you check them too, right? Because again, yes, you now have this structured approach to give your admin the controls in place, like which applications are allowed. But then if you bring in a malicious script, that script will again run under the identity of the user and again can still do the same thing as an arbitrary script in the past. So getting the script in the environment got more difficult in a way. But once it's there, it still has the same abilities. That doesn't change.
Now, we kind of spent too much time on this one article, but I have to call this out because if somebody's listening to that and it's like, yeah, whenever you install the SPFX Yeoman generator, you get quite a lot of critical security issues. However, all of those issues have been reviewed and checked and double-checked. They are development time, or they're basically not when you are doing a client-side development. So, so there's a big difference on, so they're being flagged as a critical thing, which is correct. The package itself, npm, whatever package can have a critical, for example, performance impact. Those are being flagged as a critical as well. Possible denial of a service attack.
Yeah, like one of the most common is like regexd DDoS.
Correct.
Like,
yes, exactly.
How
exactly.
would you regex DDoS your SPFX? Like
you can't.
trying to kill your own intranet.
Exactly.
Like why would what?
And any other kind of things, we always review them, is mainly if that same npm package is used server-side, which is not the case with SPFX. But it is something, the reason why I'm spending a few minutes in here is that there's so many questions, always people asking, well, there's so many security issues. Well, actually, no, if you start paying attention, go through them one by one and start analyzing what it is which is getting flagged.
Just because they are there doesn't mean that they are applicable, right?
Correct. Precisely that. And after you transcompile your TypeScript to JavaScript on client side, those issues are then not there. But again, we are closely following up on what's coming up on the installation thing. And maybe that's, now that I'm saying this out loud, we should definitely have a blog post, maybe personal blog post or something where we explain
that belongs in our docs. That belongs in our docs.
Well, that's true. That you're 100% correct. I should actually write something.
An official authoritative statement from the PG explaining the rules of engagement around.
That's actually not a bad idea. That's really not. Let me put it in the pile of my to-do list. Now.
That looked like a really bad US talk show. I'm gonna do this weird move, like.
Cool. Anyway, super important side chat on the article, but important topic, incredibly important topic in this time of the age where the security is really well. It's always important. Let's not deny that. Now, Mikael has started doing Copilot productivity tips. And as he's working in Microsoft, and we do work closely together, for example, with Mikael and other people, he's starting to look on his feelings on how many minutes you spend save in a time as you use Copilot, and those examples. And these are actually really good. They're not super long, but you can actually easily follow up on, okay, that's really interesting. Time spent per day, time spent in Copilot, and you can kind of justify that $30 in Microsoft 365 Copilot really easily.
Already there. I mean, if it saves you 2 hours, that's already like you paid for it immediately, and it's just like a single day.
Yeah, Absolutely. Here's a good example from one of the weekly meetings where Mikael is involved as well. So basically, if he is missing the meeting, he can briefly come and say, "Hey, what was the discussions?" And yeah. And that's actually exactly on the no-script discussion point. So actually, that was a chat, not a meeting, but we used the meeting chat for discussion.
Still, TLDR, so,
yeah, that's actually super powerful, super powerful. But I have confirmed now. I have clarified something. Cool. Can't remember. Good. Laura Rogers had a blog post on enhancing your Power App, filter a gallery by year, a technical approach on how you can actually do things. Good. Again, reference point. These are exactly the, how would I do this? Oh, my own blog post pops up. So thank God I wrote it.
Yeah.
Wartman had a really nice blog post on create a Microsoft 365 Copilot plugin. No, it's Copilot for Microsoft 365 plugin. Extend Microsoft.
It's Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365.
Yes.
Plugin.
True. But Wartman is testing these things and implementing and calling out the different considerations and how things work. And for example, for cryptocurrency price, these are the things, the descriptions, which the Copilot will then realize that, hey, okay, so we do have a plugin which is providing us this information. So the intent was about the cryptocurrency. So I will know that I will call this plugin and I will get a more refreshed or up-to-date reference. So. And nice blog post with reference implementation. See, not that much code. Is it really, Waldek, this easy?
Yes, it is. TLDR. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
True.
And the cool thing is, right, is that this is one of the areas when there are many advancements going on. So you can expect, and it's just assumptions, right? I mean, but just looking at it, like where we were last year versus where we are now versus where things are going, just looking at the advancement, you can almost assume that things will be more powerful, more options, better. So definitely 100%. An interesting area to be in because there's a lot of interest in this.
Yep, absolutely. Now we already spent 120 minutes on the first section of the blog post, and the rest have to go through. So just kidding.
If only we had Copilot to summarize it for us.
True.
These are all the tabs that I've got open. What's the TLDR on it?
Exactly. That's not a bad idea. That's it might actually even work. I don't want to test it right now, but that's actually a good point. So Harsha Pafov-Sar had his first contribution to the open source project, SPDevFX web parts. Thank you, Harsha, for contributing. Always great stuff when people are sharing their knowledge and their samples between others within a community. We are so much stronger when we share our learnings because then we can build each other's knowledge and together we are much more powerful. So this is a brilliant contribution. Thank you for that. Ilya had a blog post on using CLI for Microsoft 365 in TypeScript Azure Functions. You probably had a look on this one, Waldek.
Yes. And it's a great idea, great approach. It doesn't seem like something you would think about doing at first, but then when you go through the articles, you're like, yes, like that makes perfect sense. Like you might want to have a, scheduled function that does something on a clock. And why not use CLI for Microsoft 365 for it to run a few commands that you've got in there and do something with the data on Microsoft 365? So this is definitely a great walkthrough showing you how to set it up, how to get everything to work, how to do auth the right way, which is also a great thing that we often, skim over. Like, just put a token here. It's like, what token? Like, where do I get the token from? Like, this is really the key question. So in this example, Ilya does a great job walking you through all of it end to end. So definitely something, if you have that need to run a serverless workload in a cloud with some operations on Microsoft 365, check it out.
Absolutely. And then Sudharson K had a multi-tenant Azure Functions using MS Graph API blog post on that one. Thank you, Sudharson, on walking through. Again, we're always starting about the authentication and how do we actually do things and permissions and all of that stuff, which is unfortunately kind of the important part of these things. Actually calling APIs and making operations is pretty simple. So that's typically the case. So, but thank you, Sudharsan, on walking through that process as well. And then we had a blog post from Giacomo Bossoni about Power Automate flows and recently created SharePoint Online sites. That's actually really interesting. So basically knowing the recently created sites and then accessing them and doing operations, for example. Oh, we're actually adding the, okay, got it, the following things. Cool. Thank you, Giacomo, on pronunciation of the names is really horrible. April, a new video, actually a bit longer time, not last week, because there's been a while since we did one of these, and that's why this is going so long, and this is going so horribly wrong. No. Automated time blocking plan for AI and with AI and Power Automate from April. Basically, a scenario that you can automate things or blocking times from your calendar. Something what actually Viva Insights. No, what's doing that? Viva Insights.
Insights.
Yeah, it's doing that. I tested out, and then it's incredibly annoying when it starts blocking out your calendar.
Why it's annoying?
No, I want to control. I
mean, you can still change it.
Yes, I can, and that's why I always went and deleted everything. What it deleted. Don't touch my cheese. Don't touch my cheese.
Stay off my lawn. Yes, I own my calendar.
Well, why did you then try it? Well, that I didn't read what it said. I just clicked the checkbox and said apply. So. Good. AZ had a working with React preview from the Mastering the SPFX course, and thank you, Aizen, for sharing insights here as well. So this is from his workshop material for the SharePoint framework, and great chapter preview or intro from that side. So a lot of good insights and details on scenarios as well. So even though you wouldn't actually go to his training course, so a lot of baseline information here. Shane, don't look like that. Okay, so upgrade your replies, better customer outcomes using AI in Power Apps. Again, nice integration scenarios with AI and Power Apps on providing insights and update. So I did it, updated with AI. And there's what's going to go to the customer. So good use case of using AI, because you can tone the language a bit, be a bit more polite. So
yeah, and then the person who or the recipient is going to TLDR your nice formatted thing to I did it.
Yes, precisely. Yeah. Now, Message Center Show had a new show recorded last week from the new campus, and they were in the MVP Summit, Daniel and Daryl. Good to see them face to face as well. And we actually meet even in the building 3. By an accident on Monday, walked into them when I was going to getting a coffee. Not an MVP Summit day even, and why are you here? No, okay. But that's pretty cool. So the updates again on what's happening within the what are we shipping from the partner center. So the roadmap updates, messaging center updates,
message center.
Yes, exactly.
Also, partner center. We're like, what? What are anyone?
Who are you?
Go away.
What is this meeting? Why am I here? Microsoft Copilot plugins. So extending Microsoft Copilot in Microsoft 365 with custom plugins. A nice video from Paolo from last week as well. And these are really good. And Paolo does this always in less than 10 minutes. So great intros on, okay, so this is how it works. Great, awesome. Then when you have time, you can actually start implementing the reference samples. Laura Rogers and Joel Jobson had a enhancing your Power Apps easy steps to filter gallery by year. This is actually the kind of a reference video for the blog post which she had, which was actually mentioned on the show 3 minutes ago. So. And then we have Steve Corey. We saw Steve also in the MVP Summit last week. Good to catch up face-to-face or meet face-to-face. That's always good. The best Microsoft Copilot tips for prompts. That's actually really good. So doing things and testing things, and then what comes out, and then how can we adjust that prompt to be more precise. I'll come back on that one in a second before we close. The prompt engineering. Let's come back on that one. Microsoft Loop page template, how to create and use them, from Daniel Anderson. Daniel is doing a brilliant job on short videos and explaining the values of different capabilities across the Microsoft 365. So great videos. Do subscribe on his channel. Awesome stuff as well, like Steve Corey as well, like all of this, Paolo, and also SharePoint Wizard. So really cool video on how to change shape of images in SharePoint pages. So this is a relatively new feature. You're able to adjust the images. This is actually really cool and super valuable. You can think about the visuals, how you're adjusting the page and then adjusting the visuals with that. And yeah, that's actually really cool. And then we're looking into having a focal point there as well. So if it, like you saw there, I think it was the triangle, whether it's like, where was it? Well, that's not that useful. Well, actually, that's a good picture for a triangle.
I mean, it depends what you want to show. Like, if you want to show the hands, you have exactly the right thing.
But thank you for that one. And then the last thing here is just to call out. We have a lot of new samples in the community.
1900. We crossed 1900. It's insane. This just keeps growing.
Exactly. It just keeps on growing, get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, just to call out. So SharePoint Wizard is Amy. That's the right way of saying that. Amy Diamond. So his real name is not SharePoint Wizard, but he is a SharePoint Wizard because it's.
Have you actually checked the ID? Maybe it is his real name.
Nope. He's an MVP He's a SharePoint MVP in MVP crew, and it's Amy. Ami, not Amy.
Okay.
Because I recently was in the blog post podcast with them, so which we didn't cover. Anyway, from SharePoint Wizard channel, you can find that podcast as well. I can't remember. We talked about. I think we talked about the latest.
On the right.
There we go. We talked about the value of the community and what it actually. So. Where am I hearing these ads? Go away, ads. And they're all in Finnish because I have an English US computer. So there we go. So that one was with Amy. This is hard. Not Amy. Ami Diamond and Inea Likach and me were talking about the community and what does it mean and how we have evolved from the early ages of community setup. So. Pretty recently, we actually had the 10-year anniversary of going live community stuff. So that's when you were still an MVP, right, Waldek?
10 years ago, yes, I was.
Yes. Now, the one thing what I wanted to super briefly touch, because I can see that our next meeting getting cancelled, which is good, was the prompt engineering. It's actually what was interesting in the last week. More and more, it seems to be that others are aligning on the thinking that maybe not end users need to be prompt engineers. Also in the messaging in the Redmond and messaging in the sessions, which is understandable because yes, prompt engineering is valuable and it's important. But I think it was, I can't remember the study, but there was an interesting study related on, okay, if you are prompt engineer, how good prompt engineer you need to be that you would get better results than the normal end user. And it was basically, or the value of being super detailed and a prompt engineer. And the value was debatable. And that was really interesting. So in the research, I can't remember what way the research was. So more and more we're heading to a direction where, well, GPTs and custom GPTs and isolated chats, we can do the system engineering and prompt engineering as a service for the end user. So not assuming that the end users needs to be prompt engineers, which was the discussion point a year ago, because it was basically.
Well, I don't know. I think it's like with everything else. You've got the early adoption, and that means that you got to jump through hoops. And then as the maturity increases and the adoption increases, like if you want something to be adopted by the masses, it's got to be simple.
Yes,
because
exactly.
You cannot turn everybody into an engineer. You cannot. It's just simply impossible, right? So yes, you will have few enthusiasts who, like this dissect prompts, like, oh, I need to do this and this, and if I will offer GPT a tip, then it will give me a better. Like, normal person will not do that.
They don't have
They
time.
will either go there, do something, and if they not get the results they need, they will never come back.
And again, we do need prompt engineers, people who are super specialized on how LLMs works, and we are able to abstract the complexity for end users. But again, my point being on the fact that it's not a skill what end users, normal end users needs to learn.
Definitely
to be
not. Definitely not. Well,
So,
but I mean, it's the same. Like you can almost think of it as another programming language for people who build apps on top of AI.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
We program
an
a
API.
computer with C#, TypeScript, whatever programming language you use. You program AI in a way with a prompt, which is specifically crafted and optimized prompt.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. That was about the prompt engineer. I have to say that this is how well Brain works when you're flying across the time zones, and I had a super long coming back as we chatted with Rick. I have no idea what I put it in my endless to-do list, but I can do it again. Still don't know what it was. Something was about.
I know. I know.
Follow up on that.
Yes, I can remember. I'll remind you.
Thank you. But
plus, we have it on record.
We do. I can go back in time and listen to the recording. But again, it's interesting. The traveling and time zones, they do leave a mark. So you can kind of execute, but then it's bitsy details here and there. What did I say?
I said what?
What? Have I? No, I haven't promised anything.
Oh yes, you have. We have it on record.
Yes, we'll have. I remember what it was in the developer docs. Yes, on how the security handling and the warnings in the Yeoman generated. That's actually a really good point. We should follow up on that. There's so many questions related on that, and people are confused and even scared, rightfully so, that they need to understand what things mean. So, really good point. Cool. See, I got it back to memory.
Perfect.
My short-term memory isn't working that fast.
Yes, I mean, you have chat like in a way of sorts. So
yeah, I know. It's okay. I'll be back to normal in 2025, so it's fine.
Yes. Of course.
Cool.
Anyways.
We already went through what's going to happen this week, and a lot of catching up on things. Please join on the community calls. Looking forward to Waldek, your demo related on Dev Proxy tomorrow as we're recording this. And of course, if you're watching this as a recording or listening this as a recording later on, have a look on our YouTube channel. We have the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community YouTube channel, where a lot of material is like these videos if you're watching the video format. But I guess that's it for now. Thank you, Waldek. That was fun.
Thank you, Vesa.
Good to be back in normal schedules.
Totally. We will be back next week.
We'll be back in the next week. Thank you. Cheers.